Very interesting how that happened. The truth is that, and also look at Sepulcher too.
Look at the sunset, man. If you guys had questions about what it's like when you're done cleaning your vault, the weight's been lifted off of your shoulders after all these years of just hoarding these bullshit weapons that you don't need. This is the POV. You should jump? That's fucking crazy, chat. I need to provide context here. It's gonna look like I'm a crazy person, and I'm not.
I've seen quite a wide range, so we'll see how crazy you are. Because I've seen some crazy ones, and then I've seen some crazy ones. I have seen some vaults where the majority of it is just pure garbage, and we go from like 500 items down to 200 or something like that. And then I've seen vaults where people just want to cling to like every single thing, and I would say those are worse, because at least with a vault full of garbage, you kind of know it's garbage and you're gonna get rid of most of the garbage, whereas with some people, they're just so stubborn. And I know a lot about being stubborn. They're just so stubborn that they just don't want to delete anything.
Uh-huh.
Okay, 557. That is not as bad as some other vaults that I've seen. Here's what I'll say about a lot of the retired weapons and all that kind of stuff. I know that people have sentimental items and they don't want to get rid of them, and I think that is okay. What I will say is that if I start to see a lot of them, I'm talking like a lot of them, probably gonna be like, how special is this really to you? So the first thing I wanna do is anything that is craftable. What is your pace there?
I definitely craft the stuff that's like needed for like meta day one scenarios and like weapons I enjoy, but yeah, like transfiguration, for example, I don't have crafted. Like I just don't care to take the time to farm stuff like that.
This is an example of like, you can get this craftable, and if it ever becomes good enough that you would want to craft it, you'll go get the pattern. To me, this clearly has gotten zero use. I'm guessing you're the kind of person that likes to masterwork a lot of stuff, just based on this first page. So anything that is not masterworked, I'm immediately gonna be looking at it and being like, this is not masterworked, therefore, I don't think you really care this much about this particular item.
I don't know if you're familiar with like the Season of Arrivals GM farm back in the day, where like you could only have like 10 Ascendant shards, and so like because I help a lot of people in like that endgame type content, I run them constantly. So what I was doing before they upped the cap to 30 was literally masterworking like terrible rolls of armor just to hoard Ascendant shards, basically.
If you're the kind of person that has the ability to masterwork exotics to then hoard them for shards down the road, you are also someone who is never going to struggle ever with getting Ascendant shards.
Listen, man, and I know that, but like, you know, what if someday we do need them? I mean, I don't know here. It's so true, though.
So I feel like I know where we're gonna get the majority of our armor slots. Armor is kind of just like much more black and white than weapons are, because like weapons can have some like nuance to them, or like, oh, they're good in this boss damage situation, or, you know, when Trials is around on this map, it's really good, or I like handling on this thing. With armor, it's just like, what are the stats? Oh, this is 59 stat roll with 20 mobility for your Warlock, delete it. Whatever your button is to show the light level of items, can you hold that down for me real quick, whatever you have it bound to? Okay. 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1806, 1600, 1600, 1810, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600, 1600. I take you as the kind of guy who likes to infuse up to the maximum power level, and or someone who does not struggle to get 1810 weapons and armor. So let's start with Succession.
Alright, so we have Reconstruction Whirlpool. I have this crafted.
Good.
This can go. I'll self-admittedly be like, this can go. So I have
Perfect. I was gonna say, if you have the pattern for Succession, I think there is very little reason to keep multiple Successions. What else we got dupe-wise here? I mean, that Transfiguration can honestly go. Like, I don't think you do this.
I agree.
The multi-mock here. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a good gun. Like, it's not a bad gun at all. Sub one for all, I think, is incredibly strong. You even have some bonus range on there. Like, this is really good. You haven't touched it in 6 months.
Don't disappoint me, Neon
at least. Remember, one item every 30 seconds if you want to get to 400.
You know what? I'll make up for that. The Chroma Rush is gone.
Wow.
Chat. My Chroma
I did
Rush
not even-
That's fine. I have a personal vendetta against the weapon. I gave it a chance.
Okay. Hey, look, I am not ever gonna argue with you wanting to delete something. Yeah, that's never gonna be a problem with me. Fadebringer, not craftable yet, so I'm okay with keeping it. This is a good PvP roll, good PvE roll. You haven't used either one. What are you using for PvE right now?
Okay, so here's another little layer. I do this game show called Grandmaster Gauntlet. If I lose, I have to delete god rolls. One of the god rolls that's very popular is Fadebringer, so I have a second version of the god roll PvE weapon.
Okay.
In case I lose and I choose to delete it, because I'm petty like that.
Okay. That is fair. I'm seeing some like some Nightfall weapons. I'm seeing the auto rifle, which I forget the name of. Duty bound. Successful Frenzy, 0 kills. Some reason locked. What's the inspiration?
What if 600s are goated someday? Like I don't know. I have the stats for all one for all.
Keep that one. Usually, whenever someone has dupes, I like to cut the dupes in half. So if you have 2, I like to try to get it to 1. If I see 3 or 4, I like to get it to 2. At least getting rid of a couple of them. Okay, PvP roll, fine.
Opening snap.
What's the other one on the right side?
Same thing, I guess.
Also a snapshot, opening shot. One's adept, one's not. Can we pick one or the other? There we go. Now I want to see non-masterworked items. Well, I can see by the 0 kills and the non-masterwork and the complete non-use of this item that we haven't done anything with it.
Like,
Heads up,
you never know,
Guardian.
though, you know?
This doesn't really have any perks on it, though. Liminal Vigil. I know it's Masterworks, and it's got a good roll on it.
And a horrible shader. My God.
Put a shader on it.
Oh my Lord.
This, because of how annoying this can be to get, I'm gonna let this one slide. However, if we do another vault cleaning, and it's still at 1600, and it still has 7 kills on it, it's going bye-bye.
All right.
Hung Jury, one of the most overrated weapons in the game right now.
They've changed the shader about 17 times, so I have a bunch of different rolls on it.
How are you feeling about scouts in PvE? Because IMO, they are just cringe at the moment. I see very little value in them other than shoot to loot swaps for ammo. Like, that's their best use case, is to pick up ammo.
Like, what they did with hand cannons this season, I feel like needs to be done for a bunch of different archetypes, because it's made them feel so usable again, and like, I've actually had so much fun running them. But yeah, I feel like scouts are super underwhelming at the moment.
I would say like lesser skilled players who are not as comfortable being close probably are still getting use out of scout rifles, but for someone of your caliber of skill, when was the last time you really broke out a scout?
Literally when it's like full scout, and even then, like typically it'll be like a she's strand anyway. I have 2 rapid hit frenzies, one in each shader.
One in each color.
I'm more inclined to keep kinetic tremors because it's actually like a rarer roll.
2 must go. At least 1 must go. Maybe I'll give you 2.
Delete that one, and then I have 1 of each. You know what? I wanted to get the 4
There we go. This, hang on, go back. This.
This was actually a gunsmith cope roll. It was a
Target lock on primaries to me is such
most
insane
nights out
cope.
with things like dessert.
If you are getting this thing,
time.
if you are getting a primary weapon that high up on a target, you shouldn't be using a primary weapon on that target unless you have no ammo in either of your guns, which is so rare. What do we got? Okay, Sub Frenzy, good roll. What's the other one? Killing. Okay, Killing Wind Frenzy. Both of them are fine. Both have, I assume, 0 kills. Yep. I'll give you 1.
I'll probably keep the non-masterwork one, actually. I think I got this after I got
I would keep that one as well. I like Subsistence Frenzy as a roll. All right, non-masterworks. Let me see you. Autumn Wind Demo Frenzy. 11 kills.
It's a good weapon. I just haven't found a use case for it. I'm gonna delete the demo warp roll. This one, like, I feel like could be useful eventually.
Okay. Hey, we had 2. You got it down to 1. I'll take that. Okay, hold up.
These
First
are both
one,
terrible, and I did not.
offhand strike.
Ritual
know what that is.
circle.
I don't even know what this perk
Just
does,
one
man.
more thing.
It's a hip fire perk
Right,
on a
right.
scout rifle.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's gone. Yeah. You don't even need to say it.
Okay, Warden's Law, cope. Cope.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I think you need 4 of them? What's the next one? 4th time Vorpal. Okay. Next one, 4th time's Rampage. Okay. And then Enlightened Action. So a lot of Vorpal.
I think this
Haven't seen a single person use it. Like, ever. So, whichever one you want to keep, I'll let you keep one.
Okay. I'll probably keep the first one because it has PvP and PvE roll.
Okay.
And then I'll delete these. Which I'm honestly fine with, because like I said, that was, this can go as well. Both of these.
Okay. So rapid hit Vorpal.
Honestly, the old one's probably better anyway, if I
I
wanted
was
to
gonna
mess
say,
around
what are
with it
we
in quick
keeping
play.
this one for?
This
exactly?
is a great question, and that I don't have the answer for. This is-
Retired weapons, we're gonna skip past for now. Although I would like to know how many retired weapons you do have in your vault, if you just want to search that on Dim. I have 13 items. I used to have like 50.
Oh, 35. So now
Guardian,
35.
I've updated Ikora
Okay.
on your
So
progress
almost
with
a
the headless
page
ones.
full.
it's fair.
Okay. So some of these I am gonna fight back on a little bit. Like the trust in the
Cease
top
your
right.
whining. No
You know,
one insisted
I'll
you
give you
take
this
this
one.
mission.
What was that Jack
You
of
chose to.
Spades or something like that?
These weapons I wish they would bring back, because I actually thought they never like got a chance to shine at all. And they were
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Can we get rid of the Jack
Guardian
Queen
can handle
King
things.
3? Is this dire to keep?
It's not
Is this
dire.
that sentimental to you?
You know what?
Okay, besides that
Funny.
weapon, name
I
a
often say
gun
the
that we've
same thing
deleted
about
and the
you.
perk roll on it.
Just moves on, dude. I feel like I just got punched in the nuts.
A different gun other than the Jack Queen King that we deleted and the perk roll.
We deleted a hung jury with rapid hit frenzy.
You are, I think, the first person to actually answer that question. And I have asked that question over a dozen times.
Yo, let's go. That's actually big. Okay.
In the 4th row, the pulse rifle,
Dude,
white, red, and yeah.
you're slandering the John 7?
I'm not slandering it. It's just we've moved on. We've
So-
moved on from Disruption Break as a society.
That is based. Other than Arby, but even that got replaced by Wishender, so you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exile's Curse, Slide
You know
Shot,
what?
Kickstart,
Chat,
like it's
if you use fusions in PvP, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying you stink a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete it and prevent myself from ever even being tempted. And I said it.
okay. Wow. This unmasterworked posterity.
Yeah, I
Do
don't
you
know why that's
have-
there.
okay,
no,
never
it's
mind.
gone. It's gone.
All right. Is this an Arctic Haze on the bottom left with Mulligan Vorpal? Was this an old school barrier champion weapon?
I don't
That
even
is
have a response.
that is such a specific era of the game. So we have deleted, I want to say, about 30 items in about 40 minutes. So we are very behind pace.
We are. Oh god.
So let's go to the next page, and I think we're gonna let's try and do some rapid fire stuff here.
I'm never gonna use this in PvP.
I was gonna say you are.
I don't know
Do you have
what that
Beloved
is.
crafted? Vision of Confluence with Disruption Break.
I'm gonna get rid of it. I can't. Yeah, I don't even use that. I hate myself
Okay.
for having it. I can delete these.
You have the pattern. Okay. Those can go. Both of those rolls are not even rolls that I would be using anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, this one can go for sure.
Love that. 1600. Yeah, haven't used it in 7 months.
This one hurts, man.
You can get it on the next go around.
I probably
Okay.
won't.
When's the last time you
is.
found yourself using a legendary bow in PvE?
You know, that's a question I am not sure I have the ability to answer right now.
Yeah, because the exotic bows are just so
They are insane.
overwhelmingly dominant and insane that if you're gonna pick a bow, you're gonna be on an exotic bow.
God, that one, this one I would be inclined to delete. The Wolftone's Draw. There's a bunch of really good arc
Fun.
bows.
Adaptive munitions. Oh, it was relevant for like 4 minutes.
Now it's gone.
We are about an hour and 15 minutes in. I don't want to go too much longer. Your exotic armor. I want to go through all your exotic armor and anything with a crap stat roll. I don't care how many shards you have. It has to go bye-bye. And because you are running GMs literally all the time, I think
Johnny Discord. Hey.
Did you just make yourself giggle by pressing that sound button?
No, it was mainly your reaction to it. Just completely exasperated, like, wow, we're literally already gonna start like this.
I was also trying to keep it together because I was like, I cannot reward this behavior.
And then you did.
But I couldn't help it. Because you're irresistibly funny, and I hate that.
Oh.
Dato's POV will be on his channel with some different roles linked below.
Jez, the last time I heard about your vault, you were at 599 out of 600.
Correct.
And you said, let me clean out some infusion fodder so that way we can just look at the good stuff.
Yeah.
And you had 125 pieces of infusion fodder in your vault.
I'm not gonna lie, it did get a bit out of control with the infusion fuel. And also, since they nerfed rangefinder, that is 30% of my vault gone in an instant.
So let's look up where we were the first time we did one of these. We were in a similar situation where you weren't completely full, but we definitely had some cringe in here.
Yeah.
So you were at 422 the last time we did this.
Oh, really? Okay.
We're actually up about 50 guns.
Yeah, inflation's out of control like that.
Damn, actually crazy. Let's just tab through.
Dude, it took me literally 90 minutes to go through the 3 weapon categories. So all of the weapons in the vault I've chosen to keep. I didn't even look at the armor. That is a disgusting, just black box of death and despair, and we will not touch the armor.
Tab through here.
Yeah,
Tab
bit of a
through.
situation.
Oh, that was a lot of igneous.
Ignore that. And then the armor is just like, what even is going on here? I hate it. Why do I have 5 arthritis?
I mean, that's what happens when you turn 30. You just get 5 arthritis a year, and it just goes up from there.
You say that, but my right thumb is just constantly in pain these days, and I don't know why.
Oh my God.
Speaking of age, a few weeks ago, I was 29 and you were 33. And in my head, I was like, I'm in my 20s. Dato's in his mid-30s. We are not the same. But now that I'm 30 and you're 34, I'm like, ooh, we kind of are the same.
Yeah, we're the same. We are very, very close to the same.
I hate it. But like also, Aeon Soul, get it together. You know what I mean? Too many.
Of all the gloves to have a lot of, Aeon Soul.
Yeah.
The PvE gloves.
Yeah, dude, Rip Dragon Shadow, haven't used it in 4 years. It used to be so good. RIP Hunter Dodge. Dude, do you even have this many chromatic fires though, for real?
I don't think I do, because whenever I get an exotic, I usually look at it pretty quickly to be like,
Right.
is this better? And then it's like, no, it's not. And then I delete it instantly.
Right. I mean, Mantle of Battle Harmony just absolutely popping off.
You have more armor than guns. I don't think we have content here unless we dig through some armor.
No.
But let's look at weapons.
Yeah, the weapons are high and tight, baby.
You do keep those high and tight, and I'm wondering what we can start purging.
Very quick and funny advertisement.
Hi, I'm an underage child star, and this is a Saturday morning cartoon. But what if Battlefield was free, more goofy, actually worked, and was paying me to check it out? Well, that would be this video's sponsor, Enlisted. This is my teammate Jerry getting absolutely decimated, and this is me getting sweet revenge with a pistol. Do you play on any of these platforms and have no money? LOL.
It must have been hundreds of years old. From before the Traveler, maybe. They're going to need better armor, and I don't know if we can do it.
Oh, Light, look at that mess.
Oh my, that is a lot of bad guys. Thank you.
Keep absolutely still. This vision's based on movement.
Yo, how the f did he not see me, man? Stealth mode. Oh shit.
This is just incredible. The amount of activity is just incredible. This is a real phenomenon.
Oh. An OG Fist of Havoc. No way.
What are you doing?
Clint's got his shell flaps in a twist, telling me all about the dangers of this place. Hungry monsters with...
Right then, my friends, I think I need you to hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm about to give you a little tip here that's going to potentially save you a lot of time, especially if you don't already own a good shotgun. Now, you could spend hours farming for a Matador or for the conditional finality, or you could go to the tower and just buy Felwinter's Lie.
Free money! Free money! Easy money! And you know me! I will bet every pound I got!
This shotgun is absolutely amazing right now. I decided to try it again. The only shotgun in the game was shot package, range masterwork, full choke, accurized rounds. It's also got slide shot, it's got surplus, and it has opening shot. Now this shotgun, guys, I don't know if I haven't tried it in so long, but I decided to pull it out and I was just absolutely mapping people with this thing. So I decided to make a video on it and bring it to your attention. If you've never used it before, you can buy it, and if you have, it's time to try it again, my friends, because it is absolutely top tier in my opinion. Today's video is sponsored by Bespoke Post. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering a box of awesome top shelf goods from under the radar brands. It's free to join and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. 90% of the products come from small brands, many of which are based right here in the US. For example, the Terror. The knife in the Terror box is made by Bare Bones, based in Salt Lake City. Every month we introduce our members to cool new products, outdoor gear, barware, home and kitchen goods, clothing and more, even live oysters, based on a preference quiz that they will fill out. Every box of awesome has around $70 worth of goods inside, but costs you only a fraction of the value. Preview your box before it's shipped. You get a box of awesome assigned to you, and before it's shipped you'll get a preview of what comes inside to decide if you'd like to 1. Keep it, or 2. Swap it for a different box, or 3. Skip the month entirely for no charge. You only pay for what you want. So one of the boxes I wanted to focus on is the Weekender box. This is an heirloom level carry-all. Packing up's about to get a whole lot better. Line of Trade first designed this hard-wearing carry-all as the easy answer to protecting your essentials when you're on the move, and it's become one of our biggest hits to date. Now it's back and ready to put your roller bag to shame. There's also the Explore box, a complete grab-and-go day hike kit. If you like to go on a cheeky little hike every now and then, with the right gear, you'll be ready for anything, my friends. Just take a look at this. We've got a Nomad packable backpack. We've got a water bottle in here. We've got a survival LED headlamp if you get lost at night, which you don't want to do. And you've got some toasted coconut and vanilla bean bar to give you a little bit of energy on your journey. So yeah, these are just 2 great examples of some of the really awesome boxes that Bespoke Post have to offer. Use my code DFB20 to get 20% off your first box of awesome. Click the link in the description down below and enter my code, or go to bespokepost.com/DFB20 to get involved today. Bespoke Post. Trust me, my friends, I was not lying when I said the Felwinter's Lie is top tier. Seriously, have you used this thing in a while? Because look at the damage. Look at the damage. Watch this. Watch this. Are you ready for this? Bang. That was an absolute map. I don't know, man. This shotgun, I know it was infamous and it was very hated and it got nerfed about 17 billion times. But here we are, my friends. It's back. Bang. Look at this thing doing absolute damage, mate. Absolute damage. We've also got a spicy auto rifle and we got one on the line.
That was very interesting.
Nice and early. And just look at this thing. This thing is disgusting too. I know you want a video on this as well, don't you? Let me know in the comment section. Are you curious on the roll? It is time, my friends, to get some hang time and fish a little weasel out of the sky. Look out. Look out.
Very interesting.
He didn't look out. Hey, look out. Oh, what's that? What's that? Watch this. Bang. Job done. On the floor. That's what happens when you mess with Big John Fury, mate. Listen, Big John Fury, proper fighting man, he uses a Felwinter's Lie. So you better use it too, mate. You better use it too. And well, that shoulder charge kind of backfired him a little bit. He ate a knuckle sandwich. And now it is time to catch this cheeky little hunter, whatever he is. I don't think so, fella. What is that smell? It smells like a hunter to me. And talk about close shaves. He thought he had me. I was about to get no scope, to be honest. And there you go, mate. It's so satisfying these days. Simple pleasures. Shotgunning someone who's using an SMG. It feels good, doesn't it? You know what I'm talking about. Smash that like button if you know what I mean, when you just empty that shotgun into the guy spraying with an SMG. You know, I never thought I would enjoy something so simple. Ooh, look at it. He doesn't want it. But hey, mate, the Felwinter's Lie is, you know, rated E for everyone, mate. Everyone is getting a piece of this Felwinter's Lie. And whoa, okay, hello? The Matrix is it. Whoa. I think he's running off to hit a like on the video. I don't know. He's in a rush to go leave a like. I respect it. I respect it. Bungie servers back at it again. Felwinter's Lie back at it again. I would be careful, mate. I would be careful. Look at this. Look at the aggression. Love it. Absolutely aping in. Now, one of the weaknesses. You know what? We're gonna leave him alone. We're gonna leave that alone. No, thank you. I'll let somebody else deal with you, fella. We're using Surplus, by the way, if you're curious. Surplus is really, really good on this shotgun because it gives you a nice bump to the handling. So you'll notice my aim down sight speed is very fast. And since I play Strand Titan, I've got 3 melee charges, I've got a barricade and a grenade. That means I've pretty much always got at least 3 abilities charged. But it's an absolutely fantastic perk choice, and it alleviates the one weakness of this weapon, which is that it has terrible handling. Caught another one on the line, by the way. And here we go for the finish. Okay, I don't want to talk about it. Ooh, he's fuming. He's fuming. The SMG spamming spanner is fuming, but we got the dub, and we absolutely love it. Hey, mate, take this grenade launcher and get away from me. You know what I'm talking about? Bang, look at that. Man, honestly, I don't know if all my other shotguns are just terrible, and that's why I'm so impressed by this thing, but genuinely, like, I'm sure the gameplay is showing it too, right? Let me know in the comment section if you are impressed by what you are seeing. There's no secret here. I just bought this Felwinter's Lie at the tower, and now they're all feeling its power. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Look at it. It's just the consistency of this thing. It's blowing me away. And in my opinion, the only other legendary shotgun that's probably you could make a case for being better than this is goddamn grenade launcher, double grenade launcher, the Matador. Ooh. Well, that didn't go so well for that well, did it? Well. So yeah, the only legendary shotgun I would argue you could say maybe is better than this would be the Matador, and that is very hard to... I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'll be in big trouble. Like these guys are in big trouble pushing the Felwinters. You will be in big trouble. Oh my... Okay, hit reg is feeling a bit... Oh, I'm not feeling too good about this one. Guys, what? How dare you?
Just one more thing.
Not too sure that was a clever move.
Teabagging after... Wow, are you kidding me? Look at that, though. So yeah, the Matador is very hard to farm. I think it's only farmable on certain weeks, and the drop rate's unkind. Getting a good roll is difficult. You can have some of that. Oh, you were teabagging me earlier, weren't you, fella? Here you go, mate. Here you go. Revenge is sweet. Revenge is sweet. Now playing Checkmate, by the way. So the first couple of kills here are going to be with the auto rifle. If you want to see the auto rifle, comment auto rifle on the video. Bang. A little bit of a fish gun and a few more kills. And I think now we've got some shotgun ammo, and you can see the damage that we can do. Anyway, the 2 buckshot shotguns that I would potentially put above the Felwinter's Lie are the Matador and the Conditional Finality. Both of them are a pain in the backside to farm, especially to get a good roll on the Matador. And to get Conditional Finality, I don't know, you need to like sacrifice some hive to the hive gods or some shit, because I've tried to get it and I just cannot get it. So this is just so good in relative to how easy it is to get. The Felwinter's Lie is absolutely insane. It literally, like, this is one of the best guns in the game that you can get with no effort involved. Just take a look at this. Look at it. It's absolutely solid. So yeah, I would highly recommend picking this thing up if you haven't tried it in a while. Buckshot shotguns have been suffering. Oh, wait. What? Brother, I don't... If I speak, I don't know, the fish was on holiday, I guess. Fish was on holiday. Look how quickly I switched out to the shoddy, by the way. That's Surplus doing its part. Surplus is so good. Unless, of course, you're in a cheesy ability spamming Samuel. In that case, surplus maybe isn't as good for you. But for me, it's always active. And oh my god, last Guardian standing, and it was a 2v3. That was a 2v3, and the best team lost. The best team lost. I prefer not to speak on that one. But anyway, my friends, the point is, Felwinter's Light is nasty. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. And also check out today's sponsor as well, Bespoke Post. Much love to them for sponsoring the video. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Saturday, October 23rd, 2077. Early in the morning, the sole survivor wakes up to shave. People go about their weekend activities. Residents of Jamaica Plain have a picnic near Town Hall. Commuters wait patiently for the subways to arrive. Nuka-Cola unveils Nuka-Cola Quantum for the first time at Nuka World. And 82 students from the Early Dawn Elementary School step off their Cityliner bus to explore Lamplight Caverns as part of a school field trip. But this was not a normal day, for on this day, the world ended.
Confirmed reports, I repeat, confirmed reports of nuclear detonations in New York and Pennsylvania. My God.
The switchboard used to be the secret base of operations for the Defense Intelligence Agency of the United States. Inside, many terminals are still active, one of which has a DEFCON, or Defense Condition Status, for 2077. At midnight, the commander of the United States Pacific Fleet reported sightings of 3 unidentified submersible vehicles off the coast of California. At 3:37 in the morning, the United States Air Force spotted a squadron of airplanes, possibly Chinese, at high altitude off the Bering Strait. At 9:13 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, the Integrated Operational Nuclear Detection System, IONS, reported 4 launches of ballistic missiles. 4 minutes later, at 9:17 in the morning, NORAD confirmed birds in the air. And at 9:26 in the morning, the President of the United States of America activated response scenario MXCN-91. They've fired their nuclear arsenal. We know as much because if we visit Fort Constantine in Fallout 3, we find the Fort Constantine launch codes inside a safe. The launch codes were part of the Minuteman 11 launch protocol to be used in the response scenario MXCN-91. ICBM nuclear response. Once we get these command codes, we can go deeper into the facility where we find a terminal that we can activate to fire nukes at China. Thankfully, when we try, this results in a failure. We get an error message, targeting navigation corrupted. I presume that this targeting navigation was destroyed or corrupted by the Chinese after they dropped their bombs. Now in the switchboard terminal entries, we only see a record of a few nukes. Surely it would have taken more than 4 to devastate the entire nation, and indeed there were more than 4. If we head on over to Black Mountain in the Mojave Wasteland, we learn from a terminal that Black Mountain served as a communications relay for the United States military. We find 4 logs here, none of which are dated, and one which is surprisingly missing. Log 673 is gone. But in 672, the operators mention picking up a lot of activity from China's satellite network, our first indication that they're planning something. And then in 674, we find a log that must have been written on October 23rd. Oh my God, it's actually happening. We have readings across the board of launches happening everywhere. They must have thrown everything they had, and it looks like we didn't hold back either. The computer says we have 2 minutes until the first missile drops. The following entries here were made after the bombs dropped, and we can see the effects the radiation had on the authors. We learn at the very end that when the super mutant named Marcus moved in here, one of the first things he had to do was clear away all of their bodies. So China clearly attacked the United States. And from the switchboard entries, we learned that they did attack from the skies, but also that they had stealth submarines, one of which we can explore just off the coast of Boston. Here we find the Yangtze nuclear-powered submarine from the Chinese Navy. When we go inside, we meet Captain Zhao, who was turned into a ghoul. He's been waiting here for 200 years.
Have you been here for 200 years?
It has been that long.
How hard is it to shoot and loot
I suppose
while
it has.
inside a circle?
Long ago,
Amateurs.
just after the fire. Yangtze struck our mine. My Chen barely made it here into our city, already in ruins by then. Few noticed us. Fewer cared. Too much Tongku.
Yangtze was likely one of China's many stealth submarines that the United States didn't even know about. When we explore deeper into the submarine, we find the very room where Zhao launched nukes at Boston. In this room, we see 6 missile launch tubes. 5 of them are closed, but 1 is still open. This nuke must have jammed when Zhao tried to fire it. And inside we find a still active nuclear warhead. But just because this submarine only launched 5 nukes, and just because the switchboard only detected 4 probable launches, does not mean that there were not more. Zhao told us that he had launched his nukes and was on his way back to China when he struck a mine. The only reason he's still around is because his ship was crippled. But how many other submarines were here? How many others launched their payloads? And ION's only reported 4 probable launches at 9:13 in the morning. They could have missed some launches, or the Chinese could have launched even more after America's communication infrastructure was taken out by the first few bombs that dropped. We find few eyewitness accounts to the nuclear devastation of 2077, but the final one we do get comes from Roger Maxson himself. Roger Maxson was the founder of the Brotherhood of Steel. In Fallout 1, when exploring the Mariposa military base, we find the diary of Roger Maxson. He had been sent there by the United States military where
screw this up, don't expect me to save your sorry hide. I like the look of this fallen guy. Tough. Clearly takes no... Wait. Did you check your mods on your weapon? Are you... Great. that's how you're going into this fight, with those mods and in that ugly armor, no less. And to think, I passed up seeing the gore at the Crucible to watch this sorry display. You Guardians, no respect for the craft.
Whereupon he discovered that the scientists had been working on FEV. What FEV did to people disgusted him so much that he killed every scientist there, one by one. He started executing these scientists long before the nuclear apocalypse, but we do find an entry in his diary on October 23rd. Now, since the diary of Roger Maxson is important to Brotherhood history, we not only find the diary in the Mariposa military base, but we also find these archives in the Citadel. The Brotherhood made sure to retain copies. In his entry on October 23rd, I can't believe those bastards finally did it. Damn them all to hell. They finally let the A-bombs fly. We were right in the middle of trying to pry the real story out of von Felden when we completely lost contact. I have a feeling the research center was hit hard. I don't know why, just call it a gut feeling. It seems inconceivable that we were not targeted. I'm sure China will make up for that oversight real soon. While Roger Maxson was interrogating and executing the scientists in the Mariposa military base, the bombs dropped. The big question then is, who shot first? China or America? At first glance, it seems like the answer is obvious. In Roger Maxson's memo, he says they finally dropped the bomb. And then later on, when wondering why he was not targeted, he says, I'm sure China will make up for that oversight real soon. Clearly, Roger Maxson thought that China dropped the bombs first. The terminal entries in the switchboard are equally clear. The president only authorized scenario MXCN91 at 9:26 in the morning, 9 minutes after they confirmed birds in the air. Despite all this evidence, it's not really definitive. Every record we find uses vague language. Roger Maxson continues to say they, as does the terminal on Black Mountain. They. Who is they? Is they really China? Or could they be the United States? And on the switchboard, we only see reports of probable launches, birds in the air. But we are never told who made those launches and where those birds came from. We just assume. For after all, only China would want to strike the US, right? The Fallout Bible, written by Chris Avallone, one of the designers for Fallout 2, says who struck first is unknown, and it's not even known if the bombs came from China or America. But ultimately, as far as the Wastelanders are concerned, it doesn't really matter.
So they don't know who started it or who won?
You don't get it because you've never been down there. It's all gone, Tikorian. Doesn't matter who won or who started it.
But now that we've gone over the evidence, let's go over a few theories. The first is that aliens caused the war. While exploring Mothership Zeta, we come upon controls that we can activate. Activating these controls downloads an audio recording to our Pip-Boy. Now there's one audio recording that's glitched. If we listen to Alien Captive
Guardian,
recorded log number 17, it sounds like
ones.
silence.
Glenn cautions that they still could be dangerous. And Umaru,
The only voice we can hear on it is the voice of the alien captain. But if we turn on subtitles, we see what this voice should have said. Our defenses consist of 3 battalions of light infantry, 34 pieces of field artillery, 108 armored vehicles, and 42 aerial vehicles.
While I debrief the Guardian,
We have 38 ICBMs always on alert and ready to fire when the word is passed down from the White House. The codes to activate the launch sequence are...
It honors those who are
no, I can't let you... Get out of my mind! The codes are... no, I can't betray. Oh, my head, I can't, I won't. We learned that the U.S. had 38 ICBMs always on alert, ready to fire. Now, it's possible that the US had more than 38. These are just the ones that were always on alert and ready to fire. They very well could have had many more as backups. And we also don't know if the aliens succeeded in getting the nuclear launch codes. However, my money would be that they did. They specialize in getting information out of their captives, and they already used their methods to get information from this guy to begin with. But why would aliens want to usher in a nuclear apocalypse? I can see a few reasons for and against. The aliens have clearly been monitoring Earth for many years, hundreds of years. We find captives on this ship going back hundreds of years before the bombs dropped. And we find a captive on this ship named Sue, who was abducted only days after the bombs dropped.
I don't have any family anymore. My mom and dad died a while ago, before I ended up here. You know, back when all the bombs dropped on everything. Yeah, it was right after that. And then me and my sister, we got pulled up here. Except, I haven't seen her in a long time.
And 200 years later, these aliens are still monitoring Earth. It could be that we are all part of some elaborate science experiment. The aliens have been abducting us for God knows how long, and they wanted to spice things up. So they got the launch codes and used them just to see what would happen. Of course, this could also be a reason for them to not use the launch codes. After all, what if detonating all of these nuclear devices exterminated humanity? Suddenly they would lose out on their lab rats. They wouldn't be able to conduct their experiments anymore. Another problem we have is that you can't just use launch codes from space. As we saw in Fort Constantine, you have to have the launch codes physically in hand and activate from a specific terminal. Is it possible for these aliens to hack into a launch terminal from space and activate the launch codes? I'm not sure. Fallout technology is very Cold War. The alien explanation is certainly a possibility, but we don't know for sure. The next theory is that Vault-Tec did it. This theory comes from a number of places. For example, in Fallout 4, when we meet the Vault-Tec rep, he seems cheery enough, but there is a moment where he comes across as slightly threatening.
If you'll excuse my language, the big kaboom is... it's inevitable, I'm afraid, and coming sooner than you may think. If you catch my meaning...
How does he know that the big kaboom is inevitable? By saying, if you catch my drift? Is he admitting that he knows when the bombs are gonna drop? One could say, well, this doesn't make sense because he wasn't allowed into a vault. We find him 200 years later and he has suffered from radiation poisoning just like all other ghouls. But we also find him at the entrance to Vault 111, arguing with the guards there, almost as if he expected to be let in. What if Vault-Tec had told the representatives that working for Vault-Tec automatically got you a spot in a vault? He clearly didn't know the experiments that were going on there, otherwise he might not have wanted in. I think the fact that we see him as a ghoul 200 years later doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't know what was going to happen. Another piece of evidence comes from the Fallout film treatment, written by Brent Friedman, just after the success of Fallout 1 and before the release of Fallout 2. For a time, Interplay toyed with the idea of making a Fallout movie, but it didn't get very far. The story only got to the treatment phase, which is right before being turned into a script. In this treatment, we learn that towards the end of the movie, the hero of the movie, named Max, finally learns who dropped the bombs.
I wish I could.
Our hero asks how the war started and is shocked to learn that it wasn't China or North Korea or India that fired the first strike. The first nuclear bomb was launched by the creator of the vaults, a zealot businessman who wanted to fulfill his own prophecy of world annihilation. Now we must remember to take this with a grain of salt, because the Fallout movie was never made. This film treatment is not canon. And I'm glad it's not canon. I'm pretty pleased this movie never came to be. There's a lot of really weird stuff in this treatment. We learn that Max, the hero, is tempted by semi-mutated women, all trying to get their hands on his pristine bodily fluids. What? There's a scene where one female officer has never met a man like Max the hero before, and she offers her body to Max because she doesn't want to die a virgin. And it's been a while for Max. Right. But thinking about it, this does make a lot of sense. The author of this script tried to make it seem like the maker of the vaults was just one guy who was drunk with power and wanted to fulfill his company's own prophecy of a nuclear apocalypse. I think a much more likely scenario would be that Vault-Tec, run as a bureaucracy, would want to make the most profitable decisions for the company. We learned from the news broadcaster at the beginning of the game that Vault-Tec is making a whole lot of money.
Turning to economic news of the day, Vault-Tec stock continues to rise as tensions with China reach an all-time high.
Vault-Tec is clearly pushing their vaults very hard. They have door-to-door salesmen preaching doom and gloom just to get people into their vaults. It could be that Vault-Tec ended the world by accident. Perhaps they underestimated America and China's reaction to only 1 or 2 missiles being launched. Perhaps they thought that they would use their military contacts to launch a few missiles, nuke a few small cities, and that would be enough to get everyone so scared that they would rush to the vaults and purchase a spot. Maybe they did the math, and this would have been the most profitable outcome for them. But then again, this argument is also a good one for why Vault-Tec wouldn't want to destroy the world. After all, they're already profitable. Vaults are filling up all over the world. Their stocks continue to rise. Why would they want to mess with that? Why would they want to do anything that could put that at risk? Now, while making this video, I stumbled upon a fan theory that I had not heard before. I can't take credit for this. This theory was laid out in a blog post by author Kevin Muslitz. First on his blog, The Resistance is Dead, and later on The Escapist magazine. His theory is that the bombs were first launched by Pam. This theory relies heavily on Fallout's tendency to refer to other books, pieces of music, games, and movies in their lore. One of the most striking examples of this is when playing Fallout 2, we find a self-aware supercomputer named Skynet. Skynet, of course, is the name of the AI gone rogue in the Terminator series. Fallout included this as a bit of an Easter egg for Terminator fans. In the Terminator series, Skynet made war upon humanity in the interest of self-preservation after humanity became concerned that Skynet was becoming too powerful. Indeed, the Skynet we find in Fallout 2 is an incredibly dangerous robot. We can turn him into a companion, but he's just as likely to kill us. Of course, Skynet is not the only self-aware AI in the Fallout universe, as those who have completed Fallout 3 will be able to tell you, but also in Fallout 2, we find a self-aware supercomputer in the Brotherhood of Steel bunker named Ace. When talking to this computer, we not only learn that he is self-aware, but also that he's depressed because he's lonely. He says that many self-aware artificial intelligences get depressed and sometimes commit suicide. Others get so bored that they'll create situations in the outside world for their own amusement. But he ends by saying, "It is theorized by some that this was the cause of the war that nearly destroyed mankind." Is this confirmation that the bombs were launched by bored, self-aware artificial intelligence? Bringing this back to Pam, like Skynet before her, the Defense Intelligence Agency put her in a mobile body. We find transcripts of the scientists working on her AI going back many years. But in January of 2077, we learned that they put her in a mobile Assaultron body. After she boots up, one scientist says, "She's actually in there. I can't believe we're doing this." At the end, they ask her some questions, and she says, DEFCON is currently at 3. The odds of the alert state increasing this month are 12%. In order to increase global stability, a diverse set of detailed strategies must be adopted. The scientists end by saying, "I'll let the general know that Pam is mobile." But when compared to Skynet and Ace, Pam isn't that intimidating. After all, we meet Mr. Handies that appear to be more self-aware than Pam. Was she self-aware before the bombs dropped? Could she have even made her own decision to drop the bombs? Well, nothing tells us for sure, but in one of these transcripts, we see the scientists talking with one of the military brass. The officer wants confirmation on whether or not China has stealth subs. Pam doesn't give him a direct answer because she says there's not enough data, and she doesn't want to give him a guess. The scientist apologizes on behalf of Pam, saying, "We're working on some of her glitches." Pam, well, she gets real stubborn when she's doing too much guesswork. The officer says, "Stubborn? She's just a machine." And the scientist responds, "Sir, with each new version, well, she's getting quirky." Could this be evidence that Pam was self-aware? But if she was, for what reasons could she have started the apocalypse? Well, we learned from talking with Pam that she doesn't like too many unknown variables. When we question her in the railroad headquarters, she often gives us vague or non-concrete answers simply because she can't predict the seeming randomness caused by the human variable.
You see the future.
That is this unit's primary goal. Caution. Biological life forms behave erratically, unpredictably. All output subject to an extremely high margin of error.
Just how inaccurate are you?
The smaller the group, and the greater the time frame, the less accurate I become. But all predictions are affected by the human element.
Perhaps Pam wanted to annihilate mankind simply to make variables more predictable, which would allow her to do her primary function more reliably. If this is true, then the apocalypse was caused by a calculator who just wanted to calculate better. This is an interesting and compelling theory, but it does have its own issues. The first is that Pam was a predictive analytics machine. Her job was to predict the Chinese movements. In order to even launch these nukes, Pam would have to have the nuclear launch codes, or be connected to a network that was also connected to a terminal that had those nuclear launch codes. Even though she is mobile, when the railroad found her, they found her at the switchboard, which is far away from Sentinel Site Prescott, or places like Fort Constantine, which were used to launch nuclear warheads. Because of this, I think it's unlikely that a mobile Pam, disconnected from any network and designed for a completely different purpose, could have launched the attacks, even if she did become self-aware and had the desire to do so. So where does this leave us? Who really dropped the bombs that fateful day? Well, ultimately, we don't know, and I'm glad we don't know. I think the lessons of Fallout are less about who to blame for this nuclear wasteland, and more about how people work with each other, respond to each other, the great dramas that play out between people. But if I had to guess, I would say that if anybody launched first, it would have to be China. China, by 2077, was losing the war. They invaded Anchorage, but were repelled by the United States. The US came up with the T-51B suits of power armor, which terrified the Chinese. We learned from the terminals at Fort Strong that Chinese soldiers simply surrendered when they saw US servicemen approaching in suits of power armor. The Chinese didn't have an ace in the hole like power armor. Sure, they were good at espionage, they had stealth subs, they had stealth suits, they had infiltrated America with lots of covert surveillance bases, but in terms of sheer military strength, they didn't have anything like power armor that could match the United States. The US chased them out of Anchorage. The US followed them back to mainland China.
Relied too much on folk remedies rather than hard medicine. Blackburn started working again with scientists that he had known prior to the Great War, and they all focused their attention on FEV, and in order to secure a steady supply of test subjects, worked a deal with a group known as the Hellcat Company, who funneled captured humans to the researchers.
These experiments occurred in Vault 96 and a secret underground portion of the West Tech facility near Huntersville. Vault 96 was a genetic research vault that had the space and equipment for them to carry out testing variations of FEV.
This became a new source of super mutants, which, like always, became a major threat to the people trying to resettle Appalachia, now that the Scorch Beasts and the Scorched Plague were no longer a threat. The newly arrived Brotherhood of Steel struck out to find the source of the mutants in order to end the threat, only to discover that Blackburn was largely responsible for their creation. Although Blackburn was captured by the Brotherhood, he informs them that he has several allies carrying out the FEV experimentations, and that the super mutant creation will not stop soon.
The Brotherhood of Steel escort Blackburn to the West Tech facility, which is the genesis point of the new generation of mutants, where he is able to escape and rejoin his fellow researchers. Blackburn then subjects himself to his unique strain of FEV that was probably his so-called 123D serum, or something close to it. After exposure to a gaseous form of FEV and arcs of electricity, Blackburn turns into some kind of super mutant behemoth, which forces the Brotherhood to engage him to end the super mutant threat once and for all.
Jumping forward many years, in 2178, an absolutely pivotal moment happened in the remains of the great city of Boston. The Institute, more specifically an individual known as Dr. Frederick, came into possession of FEV samples from an unknown source and received approval for research. Project Synthesis began in earnest, and the Institute would take wastelanders from the surface, as well as some members from the Institute who did not display scientific aptitude, who had committed very light offenses, like in the case of Edgar Swan, the janitor. Being charged with stealing a cigarette box, he was forced into the program and experimented on. The initial goals of the FEV research program are not well understood, although it does seem that synthetic organics were an early goal. Many subjects died from FEV exposure, while those that survived were observed over a period of time and eventually tagged and discarded on the surface. The main method of infection seems to be by dipping, that is to say, submerging test subjects in large see-through vats. In just 2 years' time, enough super mutants had been created and discarded that the Minutemen were forced to fend off a large force of super mutants from attacking Diamond City, which they successfully held against this new enemy. Years would go by at the Institute, and very little progress would be made, although researchers would come to the conclusion that radiation exposure had an effect on test subjects' response to FEV, and it appeared that the more successful specimens also had less radiation exposure, like some of the subjects from the Institute itself. The Institute was unable to make progress with their strains of FEV, as super mutants are still disappointingly unintelligent and impulsive, and at some point between 2180 and 2227, the Institute officially focuses all FEV research on creating synthetic organics, jump-starting the Generation 3 Synth project. With Sean being kidnapped in 2227 and his DNA being the basis for all.
While exploring the land just outside of Freeside, we come upon a big fenced-in farm area. This is the NCR Sharecropper Farm. We learned from the farmers here, in particular Trent Bascom, that the farmers here came from California. The NCR encouraged them to come here and work the land in exchange for free water and their protection. It's not a bad gig, considering the state of most wastelanders in the world. These people get a place to stay, fresh food and clean water, and they're protected 24/7 by an army. However, not all things are roses and sunbeams here at the NCR Sharecropper Farms. While exploring the Sharecropper barracks, we bump into a woman named Morgan Blake.
Oh, you here to work? I think I have an extra shovel around here somewhere.
We're not here to work, but we can ask her what's been going on around here.
Well, crops aren't doing so well. I'm thinking it might be something in the water. The pump station is pretty run down. You could go take a look around the place, see if you find anything strange going on. What do you say?
Sure there, Morgan. We'll check out that pump station for you. We find the pump station east of the NCR Sharecropper Farm. There are 2 doors to this building. The southern door leads to the cistern. There's not much in there for now. The northern door leads to the pump station proper. Inside we find a variety of food and scrap and one terminal, the pump station terminal. We get a message telling us that there's some sort of data corruption on this terminal, making even the interface completely illegible. With a science skill of 50 or above, we can repair the network connection. Once repaired, we can access the terminal to learn that the filtration system has detected radiation. However, it can't detect any leaks within range of the facility. The radiation must be coming from some external cause. And we are next tasked with heading east to see if we can find the cause of the leaked radiation. Our compass takes us east of the pump station. Heading along the road, we pass underneath one of these big water pipes that connects the Sharecropper Farm to Lake Mead. In the distance, we see some gnarled trees. Our perception picks up some enemies off in the distance, so crawling along, we can head north through a gap in the rocks to find some golden geckos. These geckos will charge, but they're fairly easy to take out. Turning north, we see a military truck with a bunch of toxic waste barrels in the back. Getting too close, we get a big dose of radiation, and nearby we find a path down into a cave leading to the door of Vault 34. Unlike most vaults in the area, the big gear-shaped door is not right here at the entrance. No, Vault 34 is buried deep within this mountain range. In this cavern, we kill more golden geckos, and we find big toxic disposal sites in some of the nooks and crannies. Heaps of toxic barrels surrounded by glowing green nuclear waste. At last, we reach the door to Vault 34, and we see that it's already opened. In the entrance, we see a feral ghoul, but the name of this feral ghoul is Vault Dweller. Oh no, if we find a feral ghoul and his name is Vault Dweller, that must mean that the radiation is coming from this vault and has turned all of the inhabitants into feral ghouls. This would explain why we were sent here to investigate the source of the radiation leak that was corrupting data on the terminal inside the east pump station. Heading inside, we don't see much. There is a room off to the north, and in this room, on one of the desks, we find the Overseer's journal fragment. This is one of 4 journal fragments we will find here in the vault. Our task now is to piece together the story of what went on here. Like the corrupted data in the terminal we read at the pump station, this fragment doesn't tell us the full story, but let's get what we can from it. We learn that the population of Vault 34 is growing. The vault is becoming overcrowded, and the Overseer tells us that with the overcrowding came violence. The violence escalated when the Vault Dwellers were forbidden access to a stash of firearms in the Vault Armory. The original design of the vault did not have the armory connected to the main system, and the armory couldn't be locked. That may have been part of the original experiment. But after the overcrowding became an issue, this Overseer placed guards at the armory door to prevent the troublesome residents from obtaining weapons. Most of the residents of Vault 34 understood why the Overseer made this call, but there was a little bit of opposition. People were afraid that their right to defend themselves was being infringed. Well, this is an interesting turn of events. We first heard of Vault 34 when we met the Boomers. I did an entire video on the Boomers. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check out the Boomers by clicking here. The Boomers originally came from Vault 34. When we go and listen to the history of the Boomers by talking with Pete in the Boomer Museum, he shows us a mural depicting the Boomers emerging from Vault 34. During that presentation, he tells us that one of the reasons the Boomers left Vault 34 is because the Overseer wanted to keep weapons away from them. This is now confirmed in this journal fragment that we have found in Vault 34. The Overseer did indeed want to keep weapons from the residents because the Overseer felt like the overpopulation was going to lead to violence. We learn from the Boomers that weapons are really important to their culture. They feel like it's their right to have weapons, to defend themselves, and they enjoy detonating large explosions. If they came from Vault 34, then that means that most of the Boomers were raised in an environment where they had free, unfettered access to an armory filled with a bunch of weapons. Was this the experiment that Vault Tech was conducting here? To find out what would happen if we filled a vault with hundreds of people to the point of overcrowding and then gave them all free access to an armory filled with guns. Well, I believe the answer to that experiment is manifold. In part, a segment of the population left the vault. These are the Boomers. But the rest of the story has yet to unfold. Where have all of the vault residents gone? Why are these ghouls called Vault Dwellers? What's with all of the radiation, and why is the Overseer's notes in fragments scattered around this vault? We've left the entrance and walked across a catwalk overhanging this cafeteria. This has been a great spot to attack the numerous feral ghouls that have charged us. Some of these have said Vault Dweller, others have said Vault Security. These Vault Security feral ghouls are pretty tricky. It's important to loot as many dressers as we can here in Vault 34, because it's in the dressers where we will find the Vault 34 jumpsuits. These are important to save and give to Sarah Weintraub on the New Vegas Strip in order to complete the quest Suits You, Sarah. We'll walk away from Vault 34 with a dozen or so vault suits. Now, we're also here to complete Veronica's companion quest. When we took Veronica to the Hidden Valley bunker to meet with the Brotherhood of Steel, she had a hard time convincing Elder McNamara that the Brotherhood should end the lockdown and be more active in the Commonwealth to refresh their breeding stock, to become more numerous, and to become more important again. Because there's so much interesting and fascinating technology out there. McNamara was not convinced by Veronica's argument, and so Veronica and I are here to see if we can uncover some advanced pre-war technology that might convince him. Veronica heard tale of a gun that was held here in the armory called a pulse gun. When we visited the Boomers, we managed to lift a key to a locker in this vault from the leader of that community's private room. This is more evidence that the Boomers did indeed originate here from Vault 34. So we have a lot to do here. Collect vault suits, find the armory with the pulse gun, and somehow stop this radiation from leaking. We've managed to explore into our room behind some windows overlooking this cafeteria. In this room, we find one active terminal. The first note says welcome. It begins by bragging about the wonderful accommodations here in the vault. This vault features a state-of-the-art fitness facility, including a full-sized swimming pool. But then the text begins to get all garbled. Psychopos primeal-sized living quarters duify? What? This reminds me of that terminal we found on the pump station. The radiation had made the text and the user interface illegible. Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe the radiation that turned all of these vault dwellers into ghouls has somehow corrupted the data on these terminals. This means we're really going to have to read between the lines to uncover the story of what went on here. Let's see if we can finish reading this. The vault had beautiful personalized living quarters, but with limited space. Vault-Tec, however, believes that they make up for the limited space with a fully stocked armory, located on the 4th floor. So it's true, this was intentional. Vault-Tec purposefully made this vault small and stuffed too many people into it, with the sole goal of seeing what they would do when they had unfettered access to an armory. The next note is a flooding warning from the system. The mainframe has detected flooding on the 3rd floor. The automated security system has therefore shut the doors to the 3rd floor. Well, it sounds like we've got some swimming in our future. The next one is a warning about the reactor. The system has detected moderate damage to the nuclear reactor. We are advised of high radiation levels on the 4th floor. This radiation from the cracked reactor must somehow be leaking from underground up into the east pump station, messing with the pump house efficiency there, which is making it harder for the farmers to farm their crops. The final note is a garbled log, and this has been mangled by the radiation. We can get a few words out of this. Since the riots started, the Overseer removed free access to the armory. We can't even defend ourselves. Something. Message for whoever finds it. And it just trails off. So the overcrowding did indeed lead to violent riots. Without access to weapons in the armory, the vault dwellers couldn't defend themselves. Turning the corner, we kill more vault security guards, and these are feral as well. We have to fight a lot of these feralized vault security guards. By the time we're done with this vault, we will have put dozens of these guards on the ground. How many guards did this community need? How many people were stuffed into this vault? Sometimes these security guards will have Vault 34 jumpsuits on them as well, so we're going to make sure to loot all of their corpses to get as many of these vault suits for Sarah's quest. Well, we've explored this top portion. We now need to go downstairs to the cafeteria. There are many boxes and lockers and lots of rubble in every corner. We see that furniture has been piled into makeshift barricades. More evidence of the riots and violence that broke out here in Vault 34. We see a big puddle of neon green nuclear waste laying on the floor. Perhaps the radiation from the reactor has condensed in this cafeteria on the floor. We see a big hole in the floor leading to a level beyond. A feral ghoul's legs are dangling down into it. We can shoot at more feral ghouls through this hole. Instead of dropping down, let's finish exploring this floor. Perhaps we'll find a way down. Heading through the eastern door, we find a hallway with two directions. Heading south, we go towards the diner. Like the cafeteria, the diner is filled with rubble and makeshift fortifications. On the northern side, we find a full skeleton with a doctor's bag and a copy of Patriot's Cookbook. I believe there are scripted events that spawn more of these vault dwellers as we loot items, inspect terminals, and otherwise interact with this vault. Because you'll notice as I explore that, get attacked by 2 or more of these vault security guards just after having looted something or inspected something. Thankfully, Veronica and ED are there to intercept them for me. This diner room is a dead end, so before we take the stairs, we can go back to the cafeteria level and head through a door to the south. This leads us to another decrepit room filled with bones and rubble and radiation. Aside from that, we don't find anything else. So it's back to the hallway where we turn north to open a door and go down some stairs. This leads us to a new hallway that takes us west, where we have to kill even more vault security guards. Immediately to the left, we find a door to the systems room. Here we find a lot of electrical equipment and terminals. There are weapons all over the place. I haven't pointed them out, but I've been looting 10mm submachine guns, 10mm pistols, and 10mm ammunition all over. By the time you're done, you'll walk away with dozens of 10mm weapons. Back out of the systems room and continuing around the corner, we can loot more corpses until we find a door that's inaccessible. Looking through a window, we see more of these feral vault dwellers. Let's see if we can find a way into that room. Continuing along, we pass by a sign that points towards the clinic and the overseer's office. Heading down a nearby hallway, we come to a flooded section of the vault. We read about this, we were expecting this, but this water is glowing green. Now I can't wear a rebreather and a radiation suit at the same time because the radiation suit covers the face. So if I go swimming in here, I'm gonna come out glowing. Well, before we explore this water, let's see if we can find the clinic and the overseer's office. Right next to these signs, we find a bedroom with a Patriot's cookbook lying on one of the tables. Interestingly, the door is held ajar by a couch propped up into it. Continuing along, we can open a door leading to another bedroom. Inside, we have to kill that bedroom's former occupant, a vault dweller. This vault dweller tried his very best to guard himself from the riots and the violence. He barricaded himself inside, only to die from radiation. On one of the desks, we can find a Milsurp review and another 10mm submachine gun just hanging out. Rounding the corner in the hallway leads us to what looks like a clinic. Here we have more vault dwellers to take care of. We see a lot of privacy screens set out and first aid kits littering the ground. Here we find a broken Mark III auto dock. The dialogue box says that this auto dock was primarily used for routine surgeries, but this one's control systems have been damaged beyond repair. The auto dock is useless, but it looks like the diagnostic scanning unit is still intact. This auto dock isn't useful for us now, but depending on the choices you make later in the game, you may need to come back here to scavenge parts from it to repair another one to heal a certain individual. On the nearby wall, behind a makeshift barricade, we find an average locked wall safe. Since this is a clinic, we find a bunch of chems. There's another door in this clinic leading out. Heading out and going down the hallway, we can round a corner to find another hallway leading to another sunken part of the vault. So that's 2 stairways filled with water that we need to remember. Opening the nearby door, we find more ghoulified vault dwellers inside a bedroom. And my gosh, they just keep coming. Remind me to do something about my AP. I keep running out of AP. And my aim is horrible outside of that. In this room, lying on a night table, we find the second excerpt from the Overseer's Journal. We learn that after a time, residents of the vault began to call for population control. It was at that time that the Overseer ordered one of the technicians to hook up a locking mechanism linking the armory door to the terminal in the Overseer's office. But this very act was the thing that angered a large group of the vault residents. They demanded that they be given access to the armory so that they could defend themselves in case there was a riot, and the Overseer said no. Well, geez, it's almost as if this Overseer wanted the riot to start. Heading down the hallway, we find a door to the left that leads to a utility room. In this room, we find a desk with more ammunition and 10mm weapons, and a terminal. But this terminal is locked with a very hard lock. You have to have a 100 lockpicking skill to unlock it, which I don't have. Maybe we can find a key. Also in here, we can loot some Vault Tech security armor and a security helmet. This is handy if you use combat armor. Both of these can be used to repair your combat armor. And then heading left, we find a door to the armory. We can go down the steps into the armory to hear the ghouls growling at us on the other side of the door. And of course, as soon as we open it, we get attacked by more feralized Vault Tech security, one of which is a glowing one. After these 2 are dead, we round the corner to find 2 more. Another one, which is a glowing one. Again! Well, instead we can finally explore this armory. Heading east down a hallway, we can turn left into a room. This looks like a recreational room of some sort. We find a billiards table in the corner and a reloading bench, which will come in handy. On a nightstand in this room, we find a copy of Guns and Bullets. There's a door in the western part of the room, but it's completely blocked in by rubble. So this is a dead end. We can head out back west down the hallway. The door we came in on is on the right, but the quarters section is completely caved in. Turning left, we find a door to the equipment room, but it's locked. This is likely the room where we're going to find the pulse gun for Veronica's quest, but we can't get in there yet. We have to find the key. So we need to find 2 keys, and there are 2 underwater sections. I don't think that's a coincidence. Let's see if we can find them. Heading back upstairs, we can put our rebreather on to explore the first sunken portion of the vault. Immediately to the right, we find a door, but it's locked and it says that it requires a key. Back out and turning right, we find a room with a ghoul. Oh, but it's a dead ghoul. It's a vault technician. On the corpse of this vault technician is the Vault 34 utility terminal password. Great, maybe this is the key we need to access that one terminal we found with a very hard lock. Heading back up and going into that room, we find the terminal and the password does indeed work. Accessing this terminal, we have all of the same terminal entries we found on the last one with one new one, System. Activating System gives us an option to activate the pump station. Activating the pump station pumps all of that irradiated water out. Heading back to the sunken room, we find a door now blocking our path, but it's not locked. We can pass through to see that the water is completely gone. Activating the terminal has also unlocked that locked door that we found down this hallway. Continuing through, we can kill some more feral ghouls to arrive at a big room with rubble and skeletons on the floor. Here we can loot more Vault Tech security armor to repair our combat armor with. And in the back of this room, we find another copy of the Overseer's journal fragments. This is part 3. We need one more to complete the set. We learned that the riots began soon after the Overseer shut down access to the armory. When the violence was at its most extreme, the group that had been harassing the Overseer for access into the armory stormed the vault's exit and left. That must be the Boomers. We know how much the Boomers loved their weaponry, and we know that they left Vault 34. This event must have caused the Boomers to no longer want to live in Vault 34, and to want to go and forge a new future for themselves. But this was a blessing in disguise. I mean, after all, wasn't the problem of this vault overpopulation? With the people clamoring for guns gone, the Overseer sealed the vault exit after them, and posted additional guards at the exit. It seems like an odd thing to do when the problem was overpopulation to begin with. Wouldn't they want people to leave if they wanted to go? The Overseer admits that this was a horrible mistake, because by placing extra guards at the exit, there were fewer guards to patrol the halls. And these guards patrolling the halls were ambushed by another group of vault dwellers trying to get into the armory. The guards managed to defend the armory, but not before one of the reactor cooling vents was damaged during the battle. The terminal on this desk is also locked with a very hard lock, so it looks like we need to go find another key. Gosh, it sounds like this Overseer is completely incompetent. You've got a vault filled with too many people. It's overcrowded. People are complaining. People start talking about needing population control, which is a very scary thing to hear. How do you control a population? By controlling who has sex with whom, by controlling conception, by controlling how many children you're allowed to have, or even by killing people. And who makes that decision? Some sort of voting bloc or the Overseer? Very scary stuff. But instead of dealing with this diplomatically, instead of allowing people to leave, the Overseer responds by shutting down access to the armory. An armory that everyone had had access to, free and open access to, up until that point. Of course they're going to notice, and that's going to freak some people out. Now they're not going to be able to defend themselves when people start to riot. So that, of course, causes a riot to get into the armory to get the weapons. But it sounds like the Boomers, who were the ones who were complaining the loudest about gaining access to weapons so that they could defend themselves, didn't ransack the armory. Instead, they rushed the exit and left the vault. That was the most logical solution. The vault is overcrowded. Leave the vault. A huge group of Boomers left the vault. They didn't go steal a bunch of weapons. They didn't raid the armory. They just left. And how does the Overseer respond? By closing the exit again and stationing armed guards at the exit to prevent people from leaving. What on earth kind of decision is that? You would want people to leave if the vault was overpopulated, especially if there was a violent riot going on. Why would the Overseer place guards at the exit? All of these stupid decisions on the part of the Overseer led to the violence that damaged the reactor cooling vents, which turned the entire remaining vault into ghouls. Well, it seems like the obvious place to go next is to that second sunken portion of the vault. Back upstairs, we go through a door. We can retrace our steps down a hallway to go through a door to the first floor. Heading through the clinic, we pass the Overseer's office to go down a hallway with a leak springing from the ceiling to find the other sunken portion of the vault. Equipping our rebreather, we can dive on in. There is an entrance to the right, but it's blocked up by rubble, so instead we swim through the opening directly in front of us. Here we find another vault technician dead underneath a desk, and like the other one, on his corpse is the Vault 34 security terminal password. With this password in hand, we can retrace our steps to go down to the floor below and go back to the previously sunken floor to use the password to access the locked terminal. On this terminal, we find a new log entry. Tonight, we attack the armory. Something will finally get the presumably weapons we need to win. Something will show them population control. The final system entry here grants us access to the Overseer's office. This is a disturbing log entry. I'll tell you what it makes me think. It makes me think that inside Vault 34, you had three factions. You had a faction of people who saw that the vault was overpopulated, and their natural conclusion was that the vault needed population control by killing the less useful people of the vault. You had a second group of people who didn't think population control was the answer, obviously, because who gets to decide what part of the population is controlled? Who makes that decision? We get into some Orwellian territory here. Naturally, they don't want to be controlled. They don't want their friends and family to be killed. And so when the Overseer locks down the armory, they get really upset and nervous because now they can't defend themselves. When the first group of people starts to go through the vault, controlling the population. And then you have the third group of people, the boomers, who agreed with the second group of people that they needed access to the weapons, but figured the best way to solve the overpopulation issue was just to leave the vault, which is what they did. So the third group, the boomers, leave. The first group is still talking about population control, and the second group schemes to storm the armory to get revenge upon the group that wants to kill all of them by killing all of them. That's why they end the memo saying, "I'll show you population control." Back upstairs and through the clinic yet again, we can turn left to open the door to the Vault 34 Overseer's quarters. This is more than just the Overseer's quarters. This is an entire other wing to the vault. We see condensed toxic waste at the very bottom of these steps. More feralized vault security guards attack us. Heading down the hallway, we see two doors. The Overseer's office to the right, propped open by a barrel and a box. Operations directly across from it, but this room is blocked by rubble. And a security room just north of the Overseer's office. Beyond this is a hallway that rounds a bend. Here we can kill more feral ghouls. And first we'll go into the security office. Here we find more Vault Tech security armor to repair our combat armor with. In the back of the room, a desk with a copy of Milsurp Review on it, and another terminal. This terminal has another garbled log. Don't these people understand? We're running out of room in the vault. We need to limit the population. We can't continue to grow at this rate. Our support system cannot handle this kind of growth. Can't they understand? This is necessary. Yes, but why don't you just let people leave the vault? This is necessary? This is a memo from Group 1, the group that wants to kill people in the vault to control the population. What do you mean this is necessary? Just let people leave. People clearly want to leave. The boomers left. Let the rest of the people who want to leave instead of just killing them. I'm sure anyone faced with the choice, leave the vault or die, would choose leave the vault. Why is it necessary to kill people? Why is it necessary to control this population? What is wrong with these vault dwellers? Backing out of this room, before going to the Overseer's office, we can round the corner to continue down this hallway. We find a door at the very end with more Vault Tech security inside. There's a flammable gas in this room, which can be helpful when trying to kill these ghouls, but it's also easy to be caught up inside of it. After the ghouls are dead, on the ground here we can loot a doctor's bag and a copy of True Police Stories. Heading out of this room and down the hallway at the very end, we see an inaccessible door. The sign on the wall says stairs, and there's a bunch of condensed toxic waste on the floor here. Why is this room inaccessible? Will we find a terminal to unlock it? Heading back, we can go down the hallway to the Overseer's office, only to find the Overseer, an amber glowing one, sitting in the Overseer's chair with 2 machine gun turrets pointed at you. I was in my radiation suit, so I took a whole lot of damage, but thankfully, VATS made pretty quick work of these machine gun turrets. Somehow, the Overseer was able to summon more ghouls. During the fight, I had to turn around and take care of some Vault-Tec security ghouls that had arrived. With one final blast from my medicine stick, I was finally able to kill the Overseer. And on the Overseer's corpse is the Overseer's password. This unlocks the nearby terminal. But before we use the password to read the terminal, near to the terminal, we find the final journal fragment from the Overseer. When the Vault Dwellers learned that the reactor had been damaged, the violence calmed down before people started to panic. The Vault technicians struggled to repair the damage to the reactor and the main computer systems, but they learned too late that the automatic safety protocol within the Vault had been programmed to use alternative pipes in the Vault for its cooling system in case there was damage. But that automated system was unable to detect that the backup alternative cooling pipes were the pipes that had been damaged. So the automated safety system pumped radioactive gases through the broken pipes in the Vault, irradiating the entire Vault. And to make matters worse, the automated system triggered a forced lockdown. Manual override functions have been disabled. The entire system is on autopilot. The Overseer ends by saying we'll just have to hope we can survive long enough for the door to open automatically, which it must have eventually done, because when we arrive, the door was open. Now that we have the terminal password from the Overseer's corpse, we can use it to access the Overseer's terminal. We can take a look at the Overseer's journal, where we find 3 notes, all 3 of which have been corrupted. The first one is completely corrupted. We can't even open it. The second one, we have to pick a few words out of here, but basically what it says is, it's necessary for the survival of this Vault that we set limits on the growth of our population. That's why I sealed the door and posted guards. Since the riots began, I want to let them fight like dogs. The rebels attacked the armory, but they were unsuccessful. But during the fight, the technicians informed me that the reactor was damaged during the assault on the armory. Many went to the control center to escape the fighting, but those who remained were unable to repair the damage. The next one says, many have died due to radiation sickness. Their skin was peeling off, they're losing their minds, and the sick are attacking the healthy. One group of the healthy fled to the southern section of the Vault, and they sealed the halls behind them, hoping to escape the fate of the rest of us. Now we understand why the Overseer shut the exit. Now we understand why the Overseer locked the armory. The Overseer wanted the riots. Instead of mandating a mass execution to thin the population, which is unethical and would leave the Overseer with a lot of personal guilt, the Overseer tried to foster a riot by shutting down the armory under the guise of doing so for their own protection, with the hope that the Vault Dwellers themselves would kill enough of each other to control the Vault's population by natural selection. Only the strongest would survive. Only the survivors, the few who remain, would be able to inherit the rest of Vault 34, now that the population was controlled. But what the Overseer didn't calculate was the possibility of the riots harming the very vault within which they lived. The boomers escaped before the violence, the Overseer locks the doors, the reactor cooling breaks during the riots, the automated system shuts everything down, and now everyone is exposed to high doses of radiation and they can't leave, turning almost everyone, even the Overseer, into feral ghouls. But it looks like one small group remained. At the very end of this garbled note, we hear about a group of people who managed to flee to the southern section of the vault and seal the walls behind them. Could they still be there? Can we find them? To continue on, we go down beneath the Overseer's desk into the reactor tunnels beneath the vault. Here we find more vault technicians, until at last we come to the mainframe terminal. Here we find a message. SOS. If there's anyone still alive out there, we need help. Someone planted a bomb in the pool. When the lower level flooded, all the doors were automatically sealed. My family and a few others are trapped behind those doors. If someone could transfer control to the backup terminal, I could get us all out. Please help. So the Overseer was right. There are survivors still trapped somewhere in this vault, perhaps behind that one inaccessible door we found earlier. And we learn how the vault got damaged. One of the rioters planted a bomb in the pool. That's what damaged the vault. That's what damaged the reactor cooling pipes. The explosion of a bomb in an underground vault. Idiots! And now our quest updates. We have two options. Option 1, shut down the vault's reactor to help the sharecropper farm, which will improve farming efficiency, or save the trapped vault dwellers by leaving the reactor intact and giving remote control to the backup terminal while dooming the sharecropper farms. Oh, we have a choice here. NCR sharecropper farms or the vault residents. What do we choose? There are more terminal entries here. The next one is another garbled log. A group attacked. The reactor was damaged. All attempts to repair it unsuccessful. We need to manually override the lockdown. We opened the exterior vents. That should buy us some time. So it looks like the vault technicians opened the exterior vents, releasing the radiation from Vault 34 above ground, which of course has damaged the water pump at the sharecropper farms. But they did this to buy themselves some time to get rid of some of the radiation, but not enough. Not before all of the technicians turned into feral ghouls. Now, we have three options here. Open the reactor door, close exterior vents, and reroute the vault control. If we choose the option to reroute the vault control, it will send control of the vault to the Vault 34 survivors who are currently hiding in some non-irradiated portion of the vault. This functionality has been locked out of this terminal. We have to enter the reactor to activate it. The other option, to close exterior vents, will result in a reactor meltdown, destroying the entire reactor, and likely dooming the Vault 34 survivors. We must also enter the reactor to choose this option, so let's open the reactor door. The reactor is a large vaulted room with knee-high irradiated water covering the floor. We find the reactor terminal against the western wall. If we choose the option to seal the external ventilation, we hear a loud noise, we see gases pouring into the room, and we complete the quest, Hard Luck Blues. Checking the terminal again, we see a note saying that the entire place is about to shut down. We've completed the quest by dooming the survivors. We get a nice big dose of NCR fame, and we complete the quest, but no karma hit. Neither of the ways to end this quest affect karma in any way. This ending is a little underwhelming. We can go back to the sharecropper farms and try to talk to the people there, but they don't have anything to say. Supposedly we've made the land easier to plant crops in, but neither Morgan Blake, the woman who gave us the quest, nor Trent Bascom acknowledged the work that we've done. The other option, of course, is to reroute control of the vault to the survivors in the hidden section of the vault. Choosing this option, we immediately complete the quest Hard Luck Blues. We get more experience, but we don't get any NCR fame. We don't see any immediate benefit to making this choice. However, many days later, if you visit the Aerotech Office Park, which remember is a refugee camp run by the NCR, go to the very back of the park until you find a door to Suite 300. There we will find 4 vault dwellers in Vault 34 vault suits, led by a man named Horowitz.
Greetings. Pardon my enthusiasm. I'm not accustomed to meeting so many new people, but I find you fascinating. I've tried to learn as much as possible about the surface world since our community left our home.
Recognizing the number on their vault suit, we can tell Horowitz that we're the one who turned off the vents at Vault 34.
You? Did you redirect the power stream back to our section? We thought nobody would ever manage to get past the radiation and the ghouls. We owe you our freedom, Outlander. Please, if there's anything we can do for you.
We then have an option to refuse a gift or to say that we would like a vault trinket.
Of course. Please, take this. We carried as much useful technology as we could before our journey into the surface world.
He gives us an advanced radiation suit, which is 10% better at protecting us from rads than a regular one. I read online that we can come back to him many times to get other such trinkets, and that they can be different each time. It must have been a big change, moving from Vault 34 to this surface world. How's it treating you, Horowitz?
Kindly. The leaders of this fine community have accepted us among them. They give us food and protection from the outside. Some people here seem extremely unhappy. They keep talking about getting shafted, swindled, and fucked. Apparently somebody did them ill. All the way inside the surface city with lights. The Strip and Freeside, they call it. We're lucky to be here alive and well. The land's a mystery to us, but we'll find our place in it.
Each of the Vault Dwellers will have something nice to say.
Hey.
We're in your debt. Thank you, Outlander.
I heard you talking to Horowitz. Can't thank you enough for what you've done for us.
You're the one who saved us. Thank you.
But you know what? We forgot something. We originally came to Vault 34 in search of the pulse gun. Heading back upstairs, we can retrace our steps through the door that leads down to the armory. We can unlock the previously locked door. Inside, we kill another Vault security officer, and then we can go around the perimeter of the room looting to our heart's content. We'll find a whole lot of guns and ammunition, C4 explosives, a detonator, which you can use to detonate the C4 explosives, and on the southwestern side of the room, we find a locked gun case. If we have Colonel Blackwell's key that we stole from the leader of the Boomers at the Nellis Air Force Base, we can use it to unlock this case. Inside, we find the pulse gun, which deals an EMP, doing bonus damage to robots and those in power armor. It's a handsome little device. And I'm sure Veronica will forgive me for trying it out on her. Additionally, we can walk away with a bunch of Vault-Tec security armor to repair our combat armor, missile launchers, tons of ammunition, a minigun, grenade launchers, automatic weapons, and even the unique Marksman carbine, the All-American. A beautiful little weapon. And that is the story of Vault 34, and it leaves us with an ethical dilemma. Which is the best option? To shut down the vents containing the radiation within Vault 34, saving NCR sharecropper farms and the food that they produce for all of the NCR forces in the Mojave, or saving 4 people trapped in the vault? Well, I have really conflicting thoughts on this. On one hand, the food produced by the sharecropper farms is extremely important. It gives jobs to people who had no jobs. These farmers came from California. They needed the work. The jobs are safe. They may be hard, but the NCR is protecting them. The work itself is important. It provides food to NCR troops and to refugees whom the NCR gives shelter. The refugees at the Aerotech Office Park are not NCR soldiers. They don't have businesses. They don't go and get their own food. They are fed by the NCR, fed food that is grown at the sharecropper farms. If we allow the radiation to continue to escape from Vault 34, this could damage the quality of that food, maybe harming the health of a wide range of people in the Mojave. And these survivors are from Vault 34. They're kind of sleeping in the bed that they've made for themselves. They're the ones that chose to rebel against the Overseer. They're the ones who chose to start a riot which caused the damage to the vault. They're the ones who placed the bomb in the swimming pool. Shouldn't we just let them rot in the vault since they did this to themselves? On the other hand, reading all of the terminal entries and the notes from the vault, I think we get a clear picture that the great villain of this story was the Overseer. He was the Overseer who incited the riot by shutting down the armory and locking the exit. The Overseer started this riot to try and thin the vault's population. They wanted them to kill each other. These vault residents are more of a victim of the Overseer and Vault-Tec than anything else. And there were 3 camps. The Boomers are not responsible for any violence that happened at Vault 34. They had left long before that violence broke out, and these survivors clearly fled from the violence. Maybe they were being pursued. But were these survivors the ones who originally advocated for population control? Were they the ones that stoked the fear of population control, which partially led to the riot that broke out here? Maybe they are responsible. Maybe they talked about killing people in the vault, having a lottery, for example, or killing off the diseased, the handicapped, the sickly, or those that didn't fit in well with society. Maybe these survivors are the very people who advocated those strategies, only to flee to safety when the rest of the vault rebelled against them with violence. Is it worth saving 4 lives to allow a vault to emit radiation into the atmosphere forever? Is saving 4 lives worth contaminating the food that the NCR needs to feed their troops and take care of refugees? It's a tough call. The practical solution is to side with the survivors. You can always get positive NCR reputation elsewhere doing a bunch of other quests, and this way you can go back to Horowitz to get a vault trinket. You can walk away with a better radiation suit, and you don't lose or gain karma one way or the other. However, and it pains me to say this, but I think the most ethical choice is to close up the vault's vents and allow the reactor to melt down. Yes, this likely forever traps the 4 survivors in the vault, but it's a tough call, and I think more lives will be saved, with healthier food in the Mojave for people to eat and safer water for people to drink. And I don't think these 4 survivors are guiltless. There's no real way to know, but I think it's likely that they are culpable for the mayhem that resulted in this horrible accident to begin with. But those are just my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts? What choices did you make in Vault 34? And where do you rank this experiment on the long list of insidiously evil experiments that Vault-Tec has undertaken? Let me know in the comments section below. I read all of your comments, and I use your comments as inspiration for my future videos. I make lore videos on a wide range of Fallout topics, so if you want to make sure that you don't miss what I publish tomorrow, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I've got a t-shirt shop, folks. If you'd like to find an Oxhorn or a Fallout-themed t-shirt, be sure to check out the link to my shop in the description below. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.
Welcome! This is the combined, complete Fallout DLC review and ranking video. In this video, I'll be combining all my previous Fallout DLC videos and then ranking all the DLCs against each other across all 3 games to determine the real, final DLC god of the modern Fallout series, all in one convenient place. I'll also be fixing a few mistakes I made in my past videos that several commenters have pointed out, as well as expanding out some points further. This is all just my opinion, so do not take these points and rankings as gospel. God help you if you do. And let me know how you'd rank any of these DLCs differently. It's always interesting to read the reasonings you guys give for your opinions on these expansions. But with that out of the way, I'll waste no more of your time and jump right into the Fallout 3 DLCs. Fallout 3. Good old Oblivion with guns. Love it or hate it, you can't deny its impact. I mean, without it, we don't get New Vegas, so I gotta give credit where it's due. This game took the smelly, fly-infested, rotting corpse of the Fallout series, resurrected it, changed the core foundations of the series, redefined what a Fallout game even is, and catapulted the series back into mainstream relevance almost immediately, which is extremely impressive, as changing a game from a classic-style isometric CRPG to a first-person shooter action RPG and actually sticking the landing isn't easy. And since I've already reviewed and ranked the DLCs for New Vegas and Fallout 4, I decided that it would be again cool and fun to take a look at the Fallout 3 DLCs and round out the modern Fallout trifecta. For this video, I'll be going in order of release again, except for Broken Steel, which I'll go over first, as it's the most unique out of the 5 DLCs released. Yes, I made a mistake in my Fallout 4 video when I said,
well, Fallout 3 and New Vegas have 4 expansions each.
Because I'd forgotten that Fallout 3 actually had 5 DLCs instead of 4. Whoops! But that aside, let's not waste any more air. Let's take a look at the first expansion, Broken Steel. DLC number 1, Broken Steel. Broken Steel mostly exists as a fix for an issue of Fallout 3's. That being the fact that the player was unable to continue playing and exploring after they activate Project Fury at the end of the main questline. As pre-Broken Steel, once you turn on the Purifier, your character assumedly dies from radiation exposure from the Purifier. But now, thanks to Broken Steel, instead of being reloaded back in front of the Purifier, you just died. You now wake up 2 weeks later in the Citadel's hospital. Quick side note though, Broken Steel only starts when you yourself turn the Purifier on. I tried to get Fox to say the classic line where he rejects you when you ask him to turn on the Purifier. He cites destiny as the reason he can't go in and turn it on, despite him being a super mutant and fully immune to the deadly radiation blast the Purifier shoots out. Curiously, it seems Fox's dialogue has in fact been updated, and he will now actually go into the Purifier and turn it on when you ask him. He even takes a jab at the original line, saying that he would have thought it destiny, but since we changed his, he will do it for us. Even Bethesda knew how ridiculous that ending was. But if you do that, that doesn't actually start Broken Steel, weirdly enough. Once Fox turns it on, the game just reloads you back to the Purifier, so you can go in and turn it on the right way this time. Anyway, we wake up to Elder Lion's 4K Ultra HD wrinkles, and he tells us that we've been out cold for about 2 weeks, and that the Purifier had been successfully turned on, with the Brotherhood of Steel hard at work handling bottling and distribution of the newly clean water. We also learned that even though we had spanked the Enclave at the Jefferson Memorial, they still pose a large threat to the Wasteland and need to be destroyed for good. Shit, they're still not done? Despite having their base blown up, their ChatGPT-powered president destroyed, their general dead, and a large number of their power-armored soldiers and vertebrate fleet decimated in the battle for Project Purity, it seems they aren't ready to give up their water-poisoning dreams quite yet, and Lyons tasks us with helping the Brotherhood put them down for good, awarding us knighthood for our efforts. Kind of a crappy reward, but at least he's acknowledging us. So we head out to find Scribe Rothschild to plan our next move. Rothschild gives us a sweet PowerPoint presentation of movements the Enclave has made while we were out cold. We learn that the Enclave, despite suffering a decapitating strike to its leadership, is suffering 2 consecutive crushing defeats. The command hierarchy has remained intact, and their communications are still in operation. Rothschild tells us that the transmissions have been tracked to a military base in the southwest, and we are to go meet up with Paladin Tristan, where we will assault the base with Liberty Prime from a collapsed car tunnel. After reaching the tunnel and linking up with the Brotherhood, we exit the tunnel to begin our assault on the base. For a game from 2008, this battle is pretty cinematic and bombastic, a lot like the assault on Project Purity from the end of the main questline. Liberty Prime leads the charge, lasering Enclave goons and chucking his nukes like footballs at them, all while spouting his pretty hilarious anti-communism lines. I've always been a big fan of Liberty Prime. He fits well into not only the technology of Fallout, but also the humor and satire of the series as well. And it's always funny to watch him call the Enclave communists, then huck a football at them like a quarterback.
Their play caller, Brian.
But also like its Project Purity counterpart, this battle is much more spectacle than it is any actual engaging gameplay. Liberty Prime and the other Brotherhood of Steel soldiers make mincemeat out of the opposing Enclave soldiers real fast, and you the player can only usually get a handful of kills in before your allies completely obliterate them. But despite the assault going well, tragedy soon strikes. The Enclave call in an orbital strike on Liberty Prime, and in his last moments, Prime urges us to retreat from him before being destroyed in the orbital strike. He made the ultimate sacrifice. It died as a true patriot. I salute you as a true American, Prime. As for why the Enclave didn't call in an orbital strike on Liberty Prime during the battle for Project Purity, or drop an orbital strike on the Citadel at any given time, I'm not sure. Maybe the strike would have been too powerful or something and would have destroyed the Jefferson Memorial, or maybe they didn't get it working until after the battle for Project Purity or something. Whatever the reason, they really could have used it then is all I'm saying. But regardless, with Prime now gone, Tristan cracks the whip on us to go in the base and find out where they called in the orbital strike from. So we fight through a base full of Enclave troops, business as usual for Fallout 3, and retrieve data on the orbital strike from the base's mainframe, and return back to Rothschild to give him the data to examine. He tells us Lyons wants to speak with us again and is in disbelief that Liberty Prime has been destroyed, which I totally understand. I would be pissed if my epic patriotic mech got destroyed too. So we speak with Lyons, who's pretty shaken up by the loss of Liberty Prime, saying something along the lines of, "It's over. Liberty Prime has fallen. Millions must give up the fight." But I reassure him that everything will be fine because I'm just a beast and an absolutely elite Enclave slayer, and he tells me to go link up with Tristan for a new assignment. We speak to Tristan again, who assigns us a mission to go fetch a Tesla coil from the old only sewers to develop a new weapon with. It seems he's sending us on a late game combat skill check, as I'm pretty sure old only is the most dangerous area in the base game of Fallout 3, as it's completely infested with deathclaws. So I make my way north to Olney, and after searching the place for the sewer entrance, for some reason the map marker got moved to a metro station I passed down in DC and didn't actually point to the actual entrance of the Olney Power Works, so I had to spend some extra time and resources fighting off deathclaws while I tried to find the entrance. I eventually find the entrance in an alley surrounded by dead bodies and miscellaneous flesh and gore, and enter the sewers. The sewers are more of the same as on the surface. You're just killing more deathclaws, but now in a more confined space. Once we get through the sewers and chat up that guy from Twitter, we enter the only power works where we fight, you guessed it, more deathclaws. And this section is the most deathclawy of them all. I even had to bust out the fat man indoors to clean out a room that had 3 deathclaws loitering around in it. This DLC does not play on the late game combat. We continue on and fight some more Enclave soldiers and a squad of sentry bots until we reach the heart of the power works and find the Tesla coil in an electrified pit with some pretty cool looking lightning effects shooting out of it. We pick up the Tesla coil with our bare fucking hands, youch, and return to the Citadel. Tristan tells us they have tracked the Enclave to Adams Air Force Base, and the only way to reach it is through the Presidential Metro Station. He also takes the coil from us and tells us it'll be used to make a Tesla cannon, a new heavy weapon that melts enemies with an electric blast. I make my way to the tunnel, and along the way get ambushed by Talon Company thugs who want me dead for being too nice of a guy or something. Who the hell am I ops with here? Satan himself? But I quickly pack them up and then head off to the Presidential Metro. This metro station is another challenging combat area, full of turrets, tanky Mr. Gutsy robots, sentry bots, feral ghouls, and most dangerous of them all, the newly added feral ghoul Reaver. Holy shit, the Reavers in Fallout 3 are jacked. They're spongier than Bob himself. Having a health pool on par with a Deathclaw, they can throw radioactive poop at you now for big damage, and they also hit like a truck. All that coupled with the extremely fast and jerky ghoul movements and the relatively small hitboxes make this enemy a fucking nightmare to deal with. I fear these things more than actual Deathclaws. These bastards had also sucked me dry of stim packs, which at least for me were pretty weak at restoring health, even with a maxed out medicine stat and having the fast metabolism perk. One stim pack only restored about 1/5 of my health, so I was hitting that pack pretty often. But thanks to my god tier gaming skills, and a little bit of shoddy programming, we take down the Reaver and hop on the train to the AAFB, complete with a train riding animation. Neat. I get off the train, fight a few more soldiers, and exit to Adams Air Force Base, which is a pretty sizable, impressive looking area. Although it's still pretty linear, as many areas are blocked off by Enclave force fields. The best comparison I can make is that it's pretty similar to Hopeville and Lonesome Road. I pilfer the supply cache that the Brotherhood had left me, which includes the newly built Tesla cannon, which is an absolute beast of a weapon. It fires a large electric blast that deals massive damage and deals even more electricity damage over time, and it only uses 1 electron charge ammo per shot, and I had thousands of rounds shoved into my back pocket. And it's an absolute lifesaver for the Adams Air Force Base, as this area may be the longest and toughest battle in the entire game. The base is huge and infested with tough Enclave soldiers, and turrets are peppered all over the buildings. The difficulty was compounded even more by the fact that I had burned through all my stim packs to get here, so that Tesla cannon is pretty much essential. But I forgot to use it. I was too caught up in trying to survive the first part of the base, and didn't even whip that shit out until later in the quest. Probably would have saved me some time and deaths, but oh well, my bad. But once we take out or run by the Enclave troops, we enter their true base of operations, a fully functional base crawler. Impressive technology. Inside we fight some Sigma males and even more Enclave goons, and the crawler is a pretty large and labyrinthian building, and it's pretty visually interesting with contrasting blue and amber colors throughout the base. We also run into a guy named Stiggs, a mechanic employed by the Enclave. I'm pretty sure he's the only Enclave aligned NPC who doesn't immediately try to kill us on sight, and we can actually talk to him to learn more about the facility. Unfortunately though, Stiggs doesn't really have anything interesting to say about the Enclave, nor can we learn any new info about them from him. And him being the only NPC in the Enclave we can actually talk to is pretty disappointing. This DLC had the potential to give us some interesting stories and characters from the Enclave, and maybe we could have learned more about the goals of the people in it. But since this is Bethesda, they usually prefer to stay in the shallow end of the lore pool. We don't even get a new Enclave commander to duel with or anything. The Enclave is apparently just Stiggs and 30,000 unnamed power armor clad soldiers. After talking with Stiggs, we head upstairs and clear out the area. This area being a pretty dense and interesting area to explore. I'd even gotten lost trying to open the door to the roof, and actually using the Tesla cannon made things go much smoother in combat. I eventually find my way and open the door and get on the roof, and even with the Tesla cannon, it was a pretty tough fight up here. Enclave troops drop in from vertibirds and attack you from all angles, and I was getting spanked a little bit. But I eventually make it through and enter the heart of the crawler base, where I access the mainframe and target the crawler with the orbital strike. At this point, you can either target the Enclave base or one of the Capital Wasteland settlements, which is essentially a do you want to be good or evil choice, as all the settlements available for targeting are friendly settlements, so the choice is pretty shallow. It's a more binary version of the Helios 1 quest in Fallout New Vegas. And we escape the base where a now conscious Sarah Lyons picks us up for a sweet vertibird ride. We land away from the base and watch it get hammered by the orbital strike in a bombastic display. And with that, we take another vertibird ride back to the Citadel and complete Broken Steel. I feel like Broken Steel is a pretty good atomization of Fallout 3 at large. It has tight, engaging combat that feels pretty intense and challenging, and has some pretty great spectacle to it. Battling alongside Liberty Prime, fighting through the massive Adams Air Force Base and Enclave crawler, and watching it blown to Kingdom Come via orbital strike was pretty impressive for a 2008 game. But besides the engaging combat and the spectacle, Broken Steel falls pretty flat in pretty much all other aspects. The story builds off of the not great Fallout 3 main quest line, which means the issues from that story translate here. The Enclave are still just one-dimensional bad guys, and the only non-openly hostile NPC from the faction being Styx was pretty disappointing. Broken Steel could have gone a long way in giving the Enclave and its soldiers some more depth and lore. I mean, this is their last hurrah, but they're just here to take another spanking in the end. Even the Brotherhood aren't even that interesting. Owen Lyons just sits in the Citadel feeling anxious all day. Sarah Lyons only shows up at the very end to save us and report that she isn't in fact dead. And Paladin Tristan just exists to bark orders at us. This expansion also doesn't do too much outside of being an endgame combat gauntlet. All the missions require you to mow down dozens of enemies, and there are almost no choices or role-playing opportunities to make. It plays more like Fallout of Duty 3 instead of an actual Fallout game, if that makes sense. Broken Steel also adds 3 side quests to the overworld that all revolve around the effect having clean drinkable water has had on the capital wasteland, and the various complications that it may cause. To start these quests, you go talk to the hilariously overworked Scribe Bigsley at the now functional Jefferson Memorial, whose character model looks so tired and sickly from all the hours at his new post-apocalyptic bureaucratic desk job. Seriously, bro is gangrene.